Don't be afraid, okay? So I can help you. Let's start to begin. I am over 80. At the age of 2, I was an orphan. My father had been killed in Germany in World War I. Poison gas, you've heard about it. Saddam Hussein is in the same problem now. My mother had 5 children. She couldn't cope, and she committed suicide. Now, they left me with a sister and 3 brothers, and I'm a baby. I'm still in my diapers. On the streets of Indianapolis of Indiana, and they picked us up and threw us in what they call an orphanage. It's nothing like you hear now. Think of a prison, that vein. There were 1,008 children in that orphanage. I had no family at all. It's tough. But at the age of 2, you don't know too much. And I didn't know too much, remember anything until I'm about 5 years old. And then I understood that I had a grandmother, and she lived 36 miles away. Now my grandmother was dirt poor. I can remember my grandfather because he died when I was about 7. And in the summertime, she would come down to the orphanage and take us out, take me out. My sister and brothers had already run away from the orphanage, okay? They didn't want any part of that, so they had run off. Well, that meant that they were going to be raised illiterate. Grandmother couldn't read or write. She lived in a log cabin, dirt floor. Think about the comfort you have now. No electricity, no running water. I stayed in the orphanage until I graduated out of high school. I ran away for a brief period to get married and came back. But constantly, after you were 8 years old, you worked. It was a work farm for kids. You made belts, brushes, brooms. You had a quota. Girls made uniforms, things of that nature. Self-sustaining. We had our own dairy farm, 36 head of cattle that had to be milked morning and night. Had our pig farm, raised our own vegetables. It was something to behold, I'll tell you. But just visualize yourself, just yourselves, without a mother or father. No sisters, no brothers, no aunts and uncles, no cousins, no grandparents. You're alone. I didn't realize that until I was about 12. And I had a talent that no one seemed to know anything about until I was 12. And that was a voice. I could sing. I have a yearbook at home. My wife has it. And they had a high school to 18-year-old, well, from 12-year-old to 18, state solo voice contest for boys. And you're looking at the winner, I'm glad to say. I was only 12. They wanted then, we were running, taken care of by the state of Indiana. At that time, they wanted to put me on a pedestal. Look what we got. Look at this guy, you know. So they started treating us different, me. I didn't get beatings anymore. And I had a 6-year contract to study music. Arthur Jordan Conservatory of Music in Indianapolis, Indiana, every Sunday afternoon. And they'd drive me up there. And they treated me like a king. Oh, look at this, look what we've done, you know? Like they took all the credit. I'm the guy with the voice. And I realized right then and there, I can do anything I want to do. It's like, what's his name? I'll think of it, I'll refer back to you. But I said to myself, I can do what I want to do, and no one's going to stop me, no one's going to beat me anymore, and they never did. So I kind of sang myself through high school. We're getting in the era of the big bands, you know what I mean? You've heard them. The Dorsey Brothers and Harry James and Paul Whiteman and all those guys. And they wanted to make an opera singer out of me. You heard of Vienna Boys Choir? Some of them maybe? The boys got real high lyric tenor voices. That's the kind of voice I had. And they wanted to make an opera singer out of me, and I didn't want any part of it. So I didn't go that road. All right, now we're getting up to where I'm about 14 years old. And I'd fallen in love with one of the girls. And I said to her, let's run away and get married. We ran away to Kentucky and got married. Came back to the orphanage. Told them what we had done. And they said, well, there's a cabin out there by the garden area, and you two can live in that, but you have to do two things. Keep your chores up and your schooling. That's one thing they tried to do, is educate us. Because in those days of the Depression, boys in 8th grade or 6th grade were going out and working on farms. The dollar wasn't worth a nickel. The banks had gone broke completely, and we had no gold to back up anything. And that's when Roosevelt was in. And he's, to me, greatest president I've ever had the privilege of knowing. Three-termer. That's how I was liked. Great man. Now you say to yourself, well, what's different between your life and mine? Well, your grandparents, your parents, and you now have guaranteed in the banks. Every dollar is backed by gold. Every dollar is backed by gold. They don't go printing money and not have the gold. Understand where I'm coming from? You have guarantee of the banks. We now have Social Security, Roosevelt's time. Since then, disability compensation, unemployment compensation, welfare, food stamps. You have all of that to fall back on in your life ahead of you, probably more. We had none of that. So how did we get along? How did we exist? Barter. I'll give you this and you give me that. And we made it. I did. But it was tough. Tough kids. If you got any questions, just pop your hand right up. I don't care. I'm ready for you. So anyway, we came back to the orphanage. And now we're in the German era of World War II. 38s, you know. And they started sinking our ships, so we started getting in on that war. Then the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And I could still hear Mr. Roosevelt on the radio. We didn't have TVs in those times, didn't have x-rays, ultrasound, anything. Maybe one radio in maybe 200 people. But we listened to his speech on Sunday afternoon, and the next morning, superintendent came to the high school gymnasium where we were all assembled, and he told all of the boys, if you've got your credits to graduate this following June, this is in December 8th, he said you can volunteer. So we're all gung-ho. That's why we call it, we don't call it America, period. We call it the United States. These are the states. Now they're united. Understand where I'm coming from, everybody? when it affects us, we get together. So I want to join, and I have to get permission to join. I'm not quite old enough. Okay. So I went to my grandmother, and she said, "John boy, I'll put my X on the paper, bring it to me." That's all she did, was put an X on the paper. I am now in the Navy. And when I first went in, this is why an education is so deadly important to you guys, and you think, maybe some of you think I don't need this. You do. You're going to look back and say, hey, it was important. I walked into boot camp, and the first thing the chief petty officer said, "Anybody here have a high school diploma?" That's the first thing he said. Of course, I held my hand up. I want you, I want you, I want you, I want you. And what it said to them was, I'm capable of learning. He'll make an officer. So, they sent me, yes.
Do you ever regret joining?
Louder, please.
Do you ever regret joining? Do you regret joining?
Never. Ever. No. You say, why? It's, you people are my family. They mess with you, they're messing with me. And the Japanese had thought they were going to take over the world, where Germany was leaving off, and it wasn't going to happen. The United States was not going to let that happen. And they killed our people. And so, no, I never have ever regretted. And I have two sons, and they never regretted. I'll get back to where I was at. So I was sent to...
high school diploma. The guy said, does anyone have a high school?
Louder, I cannot hear.
I'm sorry. The officer said to you, does anyone have a high school diploma?
Oh, yes.
That's what you were talking about.
So I was sent to officer's training. And got into the Naval Air Corps. Well, the Naval, we had nothing in those days. The Japanese struck us and we had nothing. Our planes were obsolete. They've been preparing for 40 years. 40 years they've been preparing for this war. I'll get to that in the South Pacific, World War II. But I went into service and overseas, but that's another entity. I won't talk about the Depression War. It was, I'm going to use the expression, hell on earth, as I look back. But in those days, it wasn't. It was the way life was. Everybody lived this life. You know what I'm saying, kids? You know, you didn't know any better. You didn't know any other life. You didn't know a big Chrysler in the garage, 2 cars, 3 meals a day. Everybody was living the same way. Just digging in the dirt to get along. Make things... I'll give you a good example. I'm a smoker. Even at my age, I still smoke. At the age of 8, the big boys in the orphanage would send me, they would get pennies, okay, pennies. And they'd get 11 cents together, and they'd send me 2 miles to town to a guy had a little store to buy cigarettes for him. Cigarettes were 11 cents a pack. A pack. If any of you smoke, and that's your business, not mine, they're almost $4 a pack. Everything is relative. You didn't have any money, things didn't cost too much. Nowadays, well, I'll give you an example. The first home I rented was $27 a month. Okay? Can't get anything decent under $600, $800 now. Can't even buy a home for less than a few thousand, 100,000. My first home cost me $7,000, and I said to the wife, how are we ever going to pay for this? Everything's relative. You didn't make any money, things didn't cost too much. Now you make good money, things are expensive, or you say they are. So It was just a way of life. And that's the way I grew up. But the biggest thing I missed over everything else was family. We had 8 children. Look at me funny, don't do it. I can remember my wife saying, John boy, how many kids we gonna have? Well, you can remember what we went through, and I said to her, I said, we'll have as many as we can love and take care of. So we had 8 children. The last 2 are twins. And I've had a funny life. This is a funny situation. My twins are a year different in ages. Well, how can that be? Debbie Jo was born the last hour of December, and my young son Frank was 20 minutes in January. 2 different years. You with me now? And we kept it that way. I tried to get the doctor to change it because I wanted the income tax thing. Okay? He wouldn't do it. But the oldest is a boy, Tommy. My oldest boy is 63 years old. Man, you're old. Yes, I am. And I'm glad to be. He served in the Navy. I'll get right on in. If there's anything on the depression, just go ahead and ask him.
Any questions that you might have, anything at all that you want to ask him about the depression? Surely you have some questions. Yes?
Yep. Talk loud now.
How many meals a day did you eat?
How many what?
Meals a day did you eat? How many meals a day?
Oh, interesting. In the orphanage, can you picture a big prison and they're all sitting down to a meal? See hundreds of guys in this one huge room? Okay? That's the way the orphanage fed us. And they had big pots this big around that alpha ground, and they put cream of wheat or oatmeal or the soup of the day, and we served in big bowls like this, separate tables, not separate tables, huge tables. And each group were at an age limit. Like, let's see. I guess that's strong. Let's say this is the overall picture of the orphanage. And it's huge, guys. I mean huge. There'd be a building here and here. And, yeah. This would be the little ones in the nursery. This would be the kids, say 4 to 8, boys and girls separate. There'd be another one out here for the girls, one for the boys. And then from right on up the line. And I'll speak on the one I was in last. I was in 12 years to 14. All the kids were my age, 28 boys. Huge building, and downstairs the living room was 4 times the size of this one. And we sat in a horseshoe shape. The small guy was here, taller, until he got around to this side. And we'd get up in the morning at 5:30, every morning. And everything was steam heated. So what did that mean? I slept as close in the dormitory above, 2nd floor. I slept as close to the showers as I could sleep. Because if I was the first one in the shower, I got hot water. You got 28 guys going to take showers. If I got the towels, there'd be 6 or 7 towels hung up. If I got a towel first, and then I could dry off. The last guy had used a wet towel to dry off. Things are tough? No, not tough. It's just a way of life. You got to remember this. You come out of the shower, and there'd be a can like that, and they have 6 toothbrushes in it. The next can on the wall had combs, teeth missing. And I would want to use that toothbrush first. So I had to wash my teeth before somebody else did. And we had soda and salt in 2 different cans. That's what you brush your teeth with, not toothpaste. It wasn't affordable. Meals. We had 3 meals a day, and when you sit down to the table, of course everybody said grace at the same time, 500 kids in there. Whatever you put on your plate, you had that option, taking whatever food was provided, you ate. Or you sat there until supper time, if it took it. They wasted nothing. You decided all of a sudden you didn't want to eat asparagus, you had it on your plate. You ate asparagus a little bit all day long until you got rid of the asparagus. I mean, we had no money, no food, we were shoestrings. And it was tough. It was a tough life. But not to me, because everybody else is living their life that way. You have to relate to that. But getting back to when I was 14, 12, 14, I ran away and we got married. And came back and finished high school and gone into service. So depression to me was a way of life that you kids can't even visualize, even your grandparents. Yes?
Excuse me, I got 2 questions. What of the New Deal? The New Deal, FDR's New Deal, what do you remember most about it?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the New Deal, he was bringing us out of the Depression. And there had to be a way of doing it. And this man was full of wisdom. So we had to create work. Work for the men. So we started building roads, bridges, things of that nature. A lot of the territory in the United States that is occupied now was not occupied. I think about the Oklahoma territory, and they gave away land, people to go there. I mean, dams, huge dams to create electricity, and things of that nature. The man was he was a giant. He was just a giant, and he was paralyzed. But he can think, and I love him to this day. New Deal, yeah, he did. He put us on the right track. And so we went that way, all the way on that through to the Second World War. He just pulled this country together. Yeah, Jim?
Sorry. Do you remember the day that you heard that FDR had died? And how did you feel?
I heard of it, but I was overseas. And to a man, we all thought we're going to lose the war. That's how much we loved that man. I mean, he was, you can probably pick out a man in your life you really respect. And the whole country was just like this, and it was devastating, truly devastating when he passed away. It was, and I think it kind of kicked us in the tails a little bit, because we were bound and determined we were going to win this war. That was the only thing going on at that time. We were going to do it for him. Remembrance of him. So, yeah, he was quite a man.
Do you want to move on to the World War II stuff now a little bit? We'll have them look at their maps.
Yeah.
And you could show them. Any other questions about the 30s, Great Depression? Anybody? Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
In these orphanages, were you picked on? Was anyone picked on?
I got to get closer.
Was anyone picked on in these orphanages?
Picked on?
Yeah.
Ah! Woo!
Take that as a yes.
We had quotas. Remember I spoke to you about quotas? You physically were beaten. There was no such thing as child abuse. Never thought of it, never heard of it. Man, I could walk up to him and smack him on the back, and I'd be reported and probably in handcuffs and out of here before I left school. But there, it was child abuse, and pure and simple. And when I got to be 12 and I got to have the singing voice and I was somebody, you know, in the orphanage, oh, I was on a pedestal. That's the exact time I realized I could do anything in my life I wanted to do. But we had what we called blue slips. There were 6 pieces of paper, all of different color. And this sanctioned the home, the superintendents, the governors, to beat you. Authorized. And the top slip was blue, so we call them blue slips. And you did it publicly. And they'd say, assume an angle. Well, assume an angle was bending over and grabbing your ankles like this. And I mean all the way over. And you were, okay, the war has broken out. The Japanese have been in the South Pacific and the Japanese theater for 40-some years, preparing for this same war. They have fortified the islands, taken islands over one by one. And we're not aware of it. I'm going to use some of this again. Until they bombed Pearl Harbor. And then we started taking the islands back one by one, the hard way. The first plane I flew was called an SNJ. It was a training ship. The dive bomber was an SBD, okay? Scouting Bomber Douglas, the company that made it. Understand? Everything had an initial for it. This plane would carry a 500-pound bomb. No bomb bay, wouldn't have doors that open like this. I mean, we were just an airplane. And we just hoisted them up under and secured them. And then in our wings, we had 20-millimeter, we call them gun cannons. Shot a shell about like that. They were about that. In the rear cockpit, there's 2 cockpits. And the reason I like the SBD so well, because that's where I learned to fly. In the rear seat. I was flying with a guy called Carneal Miller. He was my skipper. And Carneal and I were flying, we got into a dogfight. And I felt something hit the ship. I didn't say plane. In the Navy we called planes ships. And it just, the whole thing just shuddered. And I picked up the intercom and I said, Carneal, what's going on? He said, give me a minute. So I got off the intercom. He come back on. He said, hey, John boy, you want to learn to fly, huh? I need a shoulder chair.
Oh. Here, I'll get that for you.
I got it. I'm only 80. Come on. Give me an idea. You're in the cockpit here flying. I'm behind you. I have a turret gun. Twin 30 caliber machine guns. Now our squadron is called a scouting squadron. We scouted them out and got rid of them. And so we get into a dogfight, I'm this way, you know, and he's straight ahead. And he said, so you want to learn to fly, huh, John boy? I have to turn this on. He says, put your hands on the stick. Well, we had the same things that he had in the front, except we didn't have any instruments. He had all the instruments. He had the drop. Same plane. So I get in the stirrups, and you can take hold of the stick just like this. Well, what I did, I gripped it. And I took the plane just like this. okay? And he shook me off, because I was a stalled layout. So he settled me down, let me fly it home. He says, you're gonna have to land. Well, what had happened was a shell from a Zero had come through the fuselage. Now we're in his seat now. Had gone through this calf, and was laying right there.